Operation Epic Fury.
Some breaking news. Iran just blinked. After weeks of the most devastating American air campaign since Desert Storm, the mullahs picked up the phone and called President Trump begging for a deal. Not the other way around. They called us, and here's what forced their hand. Tomorrow morning, American bombers were scheduled to obliterate their largest power plant, a $10 billion facility with a single shot. Gone. But that's not even the most explosive part. The Trump administration just confirmed that bombing Iran's nuclear facilities is, quote, not off the table. So what made the world's largest state sponsor of terrorism suddenly desperate to negotiate? Now think about what this means for you and your family. For years under Biden, Iran ran wild, funding Hamas and Hezbollah, the Houthis who shut down the Red Sea shipping and drove your gas prices through the roof. They attacked American troops over 170 times. They marched towards nuclear weapons while the weak Washington establishment did nothing. Now President Trump has Iran on its knees in a matter of weeks. It's not just about the Middle East. This is about your safety. This is about your wallet and whether America projects strength or weakness on the world stage. When Iran is strong, terrorists are emboldened everywhere. When Iran is weak, oil flows freely, prices drop, and our enemies think twice before attacking Americans. The Europeans who spent years appeasing Tehran, they're now lining up behind Trump because they see a winner. Even Al Jazeera is calling the American bombing campaign brilliant and effective. When your enemies start praising your strategy, you know you're winning. And this is what America First foreign policy looks like. And while President Trump secures peace through strength, you need to secure your financial future at home. New numbers out of Washington show that inflation's on the rise again. Another threat to you, your savings account, and your retirement. Now ask yourself an honest question. Does your dollar go as far as it did 10 years ago, 5 years ago, or even last year? So what does the next decade look like for you and your savings? If your portfolio lacks exposure to gold, one of history's most reliable economic hedges, it's time to rethink your strategy. Gold has kept up with inflation and in many periods has dramatically outperformed paper assets when the world gets chaotic like right now. That's why I trust Noble Gold Investments. They make it simple to diversify with physical gold and silver you actually own. And right now, Noble Gold is offering Next News viewers a free 10th ounce American Gold Eagle with qualifying accounts. Go to nextnewsgold.com. It's linked below. That's nextnewsgold.com, and take control of your financial future while this offer lasts. Now let's get back to Iran, because the experts are confirming what we already knew. Trump's strategy is working. And this is what the mainstream media won't tell you. It's not luck. This isn't escalation for its own sake. This is strategic genius. Former NATO Supreme Allied Commander Admiral James Stridus went on CNN this morning and said something remarkable. He said, quote, "Wow, are we allowed to have some good news?" Even CNN's military experts are admitting Trump is delivering results, but the real confirmation comes from an unlikely source, and it proves the entire world knows who's winning this fight. Take a look at this. The Trump administration says bombing Iran's nuclear power plant not yet off the table.
The reason I'm asking you is when the president says he's going to bomb energy infrastructure, civilian energy infrastructure, is he going to bomb a nuclear power plant, or is that off the table?
Well, I would never take anything off the table for the president, certainly not on national television. However, there are larger plants. There's one outside of Tehran. There are others outside of other cities that are gas-fired, thermal powered. I think the important point here is to understand the IRGC, a declared terrorist organization, not only by us, but a number of European countries, controls a huge swath of Iran's critical infrastructure, their economy, and certainly many of their governing institutions. And so to the extent we're degrading their military capability and their defense industrial base, all options should be on the table, and the president's made that very clear.
All options on the table. As we hear the Trump administration keeping all options on the table, even Iran's nuclear plant, it's clear the momentum is building. Now we'll shift to Victor Davis Hanson's perspective on why Europeans are now backing the U.S. action. Listen.
There's enough evidence to see how things are really going. Europeans would never agree to go anywhere near Iran unless they thought the tide was turning and they think that we're going to win. Otherwise, they would keep still. And the reason that the petronations of the Gulf survive is they have their finger in the wind and they're very attuned to the climate. And when you have Al Jazeera praising the United States bombing campaign and saying that it's been underestimated and it's brilliant and effective, you get the feeling that they think not only should the United States finish the job, but it can and will finish the job. And then when you start to see tactical aircraft like Warthogs and Apaches, that means that they're offering almost ground and sea support to hit targets. There's nothing, there's no defense at all when you have that type of aircraft flying at will in Iranian airspace. So you put it all together, and I think it's pretty clear that this rope-a-dope strategy that they have, that we're going to tire before they are, is dependent on just public opinion, the midterms in the United States. And if Trump sees it through, and I think he will, I think they're going to fall pretty soon. And
they're going to fall pretty soon. European support is a telling sign, but it's not just optimism abroad that's shifting. Now Trump reveals Iran's desperate call to avoid further devastation at the negotiating table. Here's President Trump on the tarmac.
So tomorrow morning sometime, their time, we were expected to blow up their largest electric generating plants that cost over $10 billion to build. It's a very good one. There was no dearth of money. And one shot, it's gone. It collapses. Why would they want that? So they called. I didn't call. They called. They want to make a deal. And we are very willing to make a deal. It's got to be a good deal. And it's got to be no more wars, no more nuclear weapons. They're not going to have nuclear weapons anymore. They're agreeing to that. Any of that stuff, there's no deal.
No deal. President Trump laying it out right there. His strong stance towards forcing Iran to the negotiating table. Admiral Stridus weighs in on why diplomacy might be the real game changer amidst the military maneuvers. A roller coaster of news this morning. Listen.
Joining us now, CNN senior military analyst and the former Supreme Allied Commander of NATO, Admiral James Stridus. Thank you so much for being here. This just came in to us this morning. The president saying, look, we're having talks and they're going well. Is that a surprise to you? Because a lot of people don't realize that oftentimes, even in the midst of war, there are always sort of talks going on. But there is the issue of who is leading Iran. Apparently, they know who that is and they've been talking to them.
Well, first and foremost, let's all just say, wow, are we allowed to have some good news for at least 1 minute? And, you know, it's going to be a roller coaster, but I think this is good news. And Sarah, you're exactly right. There's almost always kind of at least back channel conversations. I've been hearing about them from several sources. And here's what you want to watch as this roller coaster unfolds. I'll give you 3 things to watch. Number one, where are literally Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff? Because they are the ones who are going to be the U.S. side of this. Keep an eye on their normal counterparty, the Iranian foreign minister, still alive by all accounts. Abbas Aroghi is his name. So watch those 3. Where are they? Are they popping up, for example, in a place like Geneva? Number 2, watch the Marines. The Marines are still kind of chugging along toward the Gulf. The first big Marine force gets there in 7 days. Another one right behind it 2 to 3 weeks later. And then number 3, all eyes are going to continue to be on the Strait of Hormuz. Again, this is good news, but we just heard from our gas guy, and he laid out pretty clearly the Strait's going to have to open before this is going to really turn into good news. But bottom line, Sarah, yeah, it's always better to be talk than bombs away.
The Admiral sees room for diplomacy in the tense moment. Meanwhile, President Trump emphasizes the success of recent talks and hints at possible resolutions, even as force remains an option. Here's more from the president on Iran on the tarmac.
Iran's foreign ministry says you're not telling the truth when it comes to productive conversations to end the war.
Well, they're going to have to get themselves better public relations people. We have had very, very strong talks. We'll see where they lead. We have major points of agreement. I would say almost all points of agreement. Perhaps that hasn't been conveyed. The communication, as you know, has been blown to pieces. They're unable to talk to each other. but we've had very strong talks. Mr. Witkoff and Mr. Kushner had them. They went, I would say, perfectly. I would say that if they carry through with that, it'll end that problem, that conflict, and I think it'll end it very, very substantially. We have very much in mind our partners in the Middle East. We've had great relationships with a lot of them, as you know. A lot of them were surprisingly hit, and I was surprised to see it, and so was everyone else. But we have they're very much in mind in the discussions. So the discussions took place yesterday. They went into yesterday evening. They want very much to make a deal. We'd like to make a deal too. We're going to get together today by probably phone, because it's very hard to find a country. It's very hard for them to get out, I guess. But we'll at some point very, very soon meet. We're doing a 5-day period. We'll see how that goes. And if it goes well, we're going to end up with settling this. Otherwise, we'll just keep bombing our little hearts out.
Just keep bombing our little hearts out. Oh, my goodness. So Victor Davis Hansen nailed it. The Europeans would never get involved unless they thought they were going to win. The Gulf states, who always have their finger in the wind, they're backing America. And when Al Jazeera starts praising U.S. military operations as brilliant and effective and saying we should finish the job, game over. President Trump just confirmed the talks went perfectly. Major points of agreement on almost everything. And the big one, Iran has agreed no more nuclear weapons. Let that sink in. What Obama couldn't do with pallets of cash, what Biden couldn't do with appeasement, Trump achieved through strength in a matter of weeks. The Ayatollahs understood one thing, power. And now they know who has it. See, this is what happens when America has a leader, a real leader. Not someone who sends billions in ransom payments, not someone who begs our enemies to behave. A president who puts American strength first and makes our enemies come to us begging for mercy. Iran called, they want a deal, and they're agreeing to give up nuclear weapons because the alternative is watching their entire infrastructure turn to rubble. That is peace through strength. That's the Trump doctrine. So share this video with everyone who needs to see what winning looks like. And since you got to the end of the video, text raw feed to 844-840-4963 for access to me and bypass the algorithm, bypass the notifications, and get direct messages and alerts from the Next News Network to your phone. Now, drop a comment below. Do you think that Iran will follow through on this deal? Yes or no? And subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss any of these breaking developments. And if you want to show your support for America First coverage, check out the Next News merch shelf below this video. I'm Gary Franchi. As always, stay informed and stay free.
The system controls information. Information control is power. They don't want you to see this. The truth only survives together. They don't want this shared. Share this now.